Welcome, friends. I'm excited to see you all here, and thank you as well for being so kind on my first video. I appreciate that so much. I'm Krista, and this is Planning Out Loud, where we share planner related and intentional living ideas. Today, I want to talk about my Erin Condren wellness and budget planner. And then also I'm going to show you some things in my Archer and Olive vintage typewriter journal. I've made this into my learning journal. And so we're going to talk about how to make habits sticks, which is in here, and then how it's playing out in this planner. So let's get started. A little bit of background. About 3 months ago, I was laid off by a global company, and they also laid off about 12,000 other people. So I found myself in a position where I needed to figure out, who am I going to be in my next chapter? And I'm also of an age where I thought, maybe I'll retire. And if I retire, what am I going to do with all this extra time that I'm not accustomed to having? So I did a personal inventory. I kind of scoured the internet and came up with some things that I wanted to evaluate so I could come up with the beginning point. This is where I'm starting from now, and kind of generally, where do I want to go from here? So taking a bit of advice or inspiration from my mom, who is in her mid 80s and is kicking it. I'm telling you, the woman is really kind of a miracle. She's driving, doing all kinds of things, and staying active and out in the world, and I guess I would call it intentionally making choices for her life. And since that means to me, I could have another 20, 30, 40 years in me, I should probably look into that as well. So back in November, I did start changing my eating lifestyle. I don't know what else to call it. It's not really a diet. I'm changing what I'm eating, and that has been successful. And I still have a ways to go, but I would like to share a little bit about that with you, as well as I've been looking into, I hate exercise, and that is an area I really need to do some work on. And not only do I hate exercise, but I really hate to sweat. And so what can I do to keep myself healthy? So I did some research on how to make habits stick, and so I'm first going to show you my learning journal. So this is my Archer and Olive vintage typewriter planner from the Cabinet of Curiosities collection. And what I've done is kind of wrapped up my research for how do you make changes and habits stick in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to show you that first. And this all comes from an article by MyFitnessPal, which is what I use to track my food every day, to keep an eye on what benefit I may or may not be getting from my food, because I do have a range of calories that I'm trying to stay in. So this article came from MyFitnessPal, and there were some really key notes in there that I took note of and I'd never really heard before, and maybe it's just because I haven't researched this before, but I thought this was interesting, that I've always been operating from the fact of, or the thought, the perception, the dream that if I just had enough willpower, I could do it. But lo and behold, willpower isn't going to work. It's just not going to get us there long term. It will do it, certainly, in the short term. But if you make the change effortless to do, it's what's going to keep us going, because it's effortless. So that's a big challenge to look at too. But also something else that I thought was a good change of perspective, and that is, a good habit comes from the ability to be able to repeat certain behaviors. So if you stop doing the habits that you don't want to be doing and you start doing the habits that you do want to, I mean, I realize it seems ridiculous, but I never really thought about it as, okay, Krista, just stop doing this and keep doing this. Stop doing that, keep doing this, because I can do that. I can whittle away at those things that I don't like. Of course, this all remains to be seen, and also I should, on all of this diet and exercise and habit stuff, I should say I am not an expert. I'm just sharing with you what I've learned and also what's working for me. And if it inspires you to go and do your own research or your own work, I'm thrilled. But I'm certainly not trying to lecture. I'm just sharing what I've learned. And another thing that I thought was easy is we know about the reward. We know that people have things that motivate them, and it's a reward of some sort. But what I didn't know is that the reward and the behavior need to happen simultaneously, because the habit isn't built in the same way if you delay the reward. Did not know that. And if you think about it, it does make sense. Here's one that's kind of my favorite. Watch or read something while I'm doing the behavior, and it's only when I'm doing it. So for example, if I only want to listen to, if I want to listen to my favorite podcast, I can only do that when I'm walking. So there's my reward and my habit happening at the same time. Or if you want to have like a certain scent around you when you're doing the exercise, that's a reward. Maybe you get a new workout outfit and you feel good moving around in those clothes, whatever it is. Maybe you want to add cooking to your habits, and then you get a new pan or a new tool to use and you use it while you're doing that action. Those are reward and action happening at the same time. So another thing that I thought was interesting was friction. If you increase or decrease the friction, it will change how the habit develops, or perhaps leads to whether it develops or not. So an example they gave is, let's say you want to quit smoking. Society has really made it now uncomfortable for people to be smokers. It is just awkward. So that would be an increase of friction from the outside world telling you this isn't a good thing, stop doing it. Or you could decrease the amount of friction, which would be things like move your television into the area where you have your treadmill or your exercise equipment. Or like I said before, listen to your favorite podcast when you're doing the action. That's not only giving you a reward, but it's kind of decreasing the friction of not wanting to do the activity into wanting to do the activity because you're getting that reward. And so the friction has been decreased. I thought that was an interesting comment. And then of course, always we have to be accountable. And I'm sort of looking at you guys as my accountability, as well as to myself and everybody else I'm telling about this. So that's that then led to my grid. And this is also something that I can share with you guys. It's a grid that I made up, which makes up all those components of making it effortless. What do I want to repeat? What do I want to stop? What's my reward and behavior combination? Am I increasing or reducing friction? And then who am I accountable to? And then I put in the categories that I'm focusing on right now, which is exercise, my budget, which could use some work, my mental health, and my engagement, meaning with the outside world. It would be very easy for me to just, as an introvert, just stay home all the time, because boy, that's reducing some friction. But anyway, so this is the grid, and I have attached this down below in the comments for you, an empty grid for you to do the work and to think through, what are you going to focus on? What are your intentions regarding these, whatever you choose to be your categories? What are your intentions? And it's something that I refer to regularly to make sure that I'm actually working on this. So then, of course, I had to get a planner for that. I will say this. I'm not that crazy about this folio planner cover. It's kind of squishy and it's like foam, sort of squishy foam. It's okay. I love the color. Don't get me wrong. I love the color. I did have to adjust my strings because they were a little loose. But so budget. Let's look at the budget planner because that's another area I'm working on. I'm going to show you what it looks like in the blank pages. So you have these 3 boxes. I have no idea what to do there. Maybe it's your priorities for the month. I don't know. What I did on mine is I had started to label the boxes and then I didn't like it. So I scribbled it out and put stickers on top of it. And then I actually did go through and retitle some of the categories that suit my preference, if you will. So, and then you have, let's just go to the blank one so you're not distracted. So there's various categories, as you can see: income, savings, housing, food. And some of these apply to me and some of them don't. And there's some blank categories here that you can label yourself. Let's see. So future purchases and future bills, as well as savings goals. And then you have a summary where you can just list all of your transactions. There's a lot of room to write. And then you go into the next month and there's 12 months. Then you also get this little batch of stickers, which I'm probably going to use in my regular everyday planner and not in this planner. So that's the budget. And then the wellness, which is really where I'm spending the focus today on, which is place to put your name. They do have some helpful tips and things to read to kind of get you started. They have a check-in list, but since I've already done that, I skipped over this part, but I think that's a helpful thing if you don't want to do a personal inventory. Maybe you just start here and kind of get a feel for what you're looking at doing. And then I did set up some general goals on the advice of my daughter, who is a registered dietitian. I needed to increase my calories, so that's kind of where I've settled. I would say I've settled in the 1,500 to 1,700 calories a day range. And then how I'm going to do that, obviously, is by tracking my food and trying to stay in my goal range daily, as well as move more and sit less, because that's really another place I need to keep those muscles in use so that they stay as supple as possible, as well as strong. So I started in April tracking in here, and you can set this up like a million different ways, whatever works for you. So I've experimented with a couple different ways, like maybe what I did for my activity that day, my movement. What did I do? I did keep my steps, which is sort of pathetic. This is a very clear indicator to me that I need to get on it. They also have some weekly trackers that you can use here, and obviously you can add whatever you need here for what you're tracking. And then I decided to put my dinners here and break down the calories, the protein, and added sugar on this week. And then maybe my thoughts for the week. The next week I did my steps again, not impressive. I changed up a little bit. Did I change it? No, not this week, I didn't. Same thing. Clearly didn't track my food. And part of that, you guys, is not because I was getting lazy, but lazy because I've been doing this since November. So I have a good idea when I'm in my calorie range because it's something I've done. You know, I got into a habit of certain meals or certain snacks or certain things that I know keep me in range. And also I have a little hack list on that if you guys are interested, like what to do if you're having a craving for salty, what to do if you're having a craving for sweet. I have little lists of things like that are healthier choices for having something salty or sweet than a bag of chips or a cupcake, which I do that too. Don't get me, I don't eat a bag of chips, but don't get me wrong, I eat whatever I want. I just plan for it and cut back in other areas in order to have that thing. Or maybe one day I do a 2,000 calorie day, but then the next day I do an 1,100 calorie day. But it all works out in the wash. So that leads me to this page, which is the last page I have completed because this is the beginning of the week. I changed up how I'm going to do these guys over here, but also I decided to figure out what is my average calorie intake per day and my average step per day. So I actually sort of met both of my goals here. I'm happy with it. I'm not unhappy with it. The other thing I want to say is that when I looked back on from the beginning of the year to today, or April, I noticed that I had a goal of losing 10 pounds for the quarter. And that didn't happen. I lost 7 pounds and I lost weight every month. So all good. Not my goal, but my goal is just a number I picked out of the clear blue sky for whatever reason. But what I did notice is I lost 2.5 inches. So my clothing is fitting me better. And I mean, what better reward could you ask for than to feel like you're walking around a little lighter and your clothes are a little less tight? So, I mean, you can see I ate burger, fries, and onion rings one day. I eat whatever I want to, but some key notes. I keep to the serving size and I try to choose healthier versions of whatever it is. I've also increased the amount of fruit that I'm eating for the sweet part and choosing things that are more nutritious all the way around. Not always. I mean, I have days when I don't do that. So this is where we are right now. I've increased my step count to 3,000, and so that's my plan going forward. That's really all I have for today. Next week I do want to show you my everyday journal, this is from Eternal Leather. I'm going to go through that for you and show you the planners that are in here. It's a traveler's notebook. Also, I'm probably going to have a couple other new things that I'm going to show you. They should be coming today or tomorrow. And yes, I know I'm spending money, and this is all part of May is going to be a new month. We're going to be curtailing a lot of that. But that's what I've got. I really appreciate you guys making the time and effort to stop and listen to what I have to say. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week. And as always, I'm Krista, and this is Planning Out Loud. See you next week.